This morning, it's my distinct privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, who has spent most of his life being a leader. Dr. Rick Goodman is the former team physician for the World Championship St. Louis Rams. He's an accomplished author and has been a successful entrepreneur for the past 20 years. When it comes to the power of one, he's a guy who really gets it, and he lives it. And I think all of you have seen his tremendous excitement and enthusiasm. But I'll tell you, I guess we've got a lot of excitement and enthusiasm as well, because he told me last night he had gone home and had said to his wife, you know, maybe we ought to think about getting one of those interim healthcare franchises. So, you know, Rick, if you want to see Rich before you leave, that's great as well. But honestly, I can't really do with my mere words the kind of justice for Rick's introduction. So please, help me give a very warm interim healthcare welcome to our keynote speaker this morning, Dr. Rick Goodman.
Now, stand up and make some noise for your keynote speaker, the author of the best-selling book, Living a Championship Life, A Game Plan for Success. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dr. Rick Goodman.
Why aren't we standing up? Come on, let's go. What's going on here? That's right. Let me tell you something. This is going to be participation time. See, because there's one thing that I found out about people in this room. I found out that the people in this room over the last 3 days, that you guys have to have hearts that are this big in order to do the things that you do every day. And it's interesting because the only word that I think of when I get up on this stage came from Ray Schroeder over there last night, and it was wow. See, because I think this is just such a wow, and I tell you the truth, it is exactly true. I went home the other night, I looked at my wife, and I said, you know what? I like this company. Maybe we should buy one of these things. She's like, aren't you a little bit busy to go into another business? Well, it happens. As I travel around the country and I get to meet with groups just like yourselves, I just got done working with the Army up in Aberdeen Proving Ground and at Fort Monmouth, and I was just down working with Heineken and St. Lucia and some major companies around the country. And I ask people this question everywhere I go. And I say to them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you know the number one answer I get most of the time? I don't know. Well, here's the good news. I have been here since Sunday. Some of you have seen me. I've wanted to come here. I got the opportunity to spend time with a group, and I don't usually get to do this. But I can tell you one thing about the culture of the people in this room. You guys get it. And the cool thing is, you are doing what you want to be when you grow up, and you're helping people. You're touching people's lives. There is absolutely nothing more important in the world than the things that you're doing every single day. See, because when you're doing those things, you're truly making a difference. And then I had the opportunity to ask people a lot of questions throughout the last few days. And one of the questions I posed was, in the absence of excellence, what happens with your agency? And some people said, well, you know, we may not get paid, or we have massive turnover. How many of you are having a challenge with turnover? Raise your hands. Anybody out there? So some of you are having a challenge with turnover. See, but what you're going to find is, when your message is on target, when you are thinking those brand thoughts, when you understand what it is that you're doing and the effect that you have on people out there in the universe, you are going to take your businesses to the next level. See, I found something out about people. People do business with people who they like, who are like them. You will go spend a couple dollars more and buy a product from a friend of yours than go to the local discount place. Because people do business with people they like or like them. Some of your clinics, some of your agencies have become very personal. You're out there touching people. I just love listening to Judy Woodruff when she talked about her son and the power of one. You becoming the real prescription for health. Steve Smith, I don't know if you're out there, Steve, but Steve is the power of one. His ability, the things that he did to make a difference in someone's life. And just think about this. We got to be a part of that, didn't we? We got to feel that. We got to get that sharing with us. And those are the stories that you need to start talking about. See, I have this philosophy. If you don't ASK, you're not going to GET. What is the worst thing that can happen? Someone says no. Well, how about in building your businesses? See, I know there's been times when you might have asked for a referral, or you've gone in to develop a new piece of business, and you said, I don't think they're going to go for it. We've got competitors out there. Why should they pick us? And you asked, and they said, sure. And you almost fell off your chair. See, I always say, if you don't ask, what's the difference? You're in the same spot you were 30 seconds before. If they say yes, you've just gone to the next level. So you've got to start asking. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, you guys could be one of the biggest secrets on the planet. Who are you telling about the great job you're doing? What stories are you sharing? See, because when you start to share stories and you start to relate, people will be able to relate to you. And then they'll know they're in the right place. I remember in practice, the worst thing that could happen is if if one of my family members said, I know a friend who had migraine headaches or something like that, and they went to this neurologist, whatever it might have been. I lick my chops when I hear migraine headaches. This is like in my wheelhouse. And these are people close to me. Don't you know this is what I do? Some of you have got to start talking about it. And you've got to go talk to every single person. Every person that you meet is an opportunity to discuss what you do in your business. Every single opportunity. Whether it's in meetings, whether it's getting involved in community activities, you have that ability. And if you don't take advantage of that ability, like I say in the house, you're leaving money on the table. I was watching The Tonight Show a few months ago, and Samuel Jackson was being interviewed by Jay Leno. And Jay Leno said to him, what do you attribute success to? Why do you think you're so successful? And he had, in my opinion, what was one of the best responses I've ever heard. He said, when you do what you love to do and you have fun doing it, you will make a lot of money. So for those of you here that are doing what you love to do and having fun doing it, say yes. All right. See, I know that because I've spoken to so many of you here, and you know what? There wasn't one person who complained. I know we saw Liz up here, and there was some negativity about the nursing profession, but you know what? I haven't seen that here. Sure, we all have our moments. But let me tell you something. When you go out to someone's house, and they invite you in their home, which is the single most personal thing that someone can do, and you change their life. You give them the ability to sustain and be viable, to have a quality of life, to remain independent. That's what you guys do. You do that every single day. See, that's big picture. So you've got to start thinking about that. Well, when I was writing my book, Living a Championship Life, I went and I interviewed companies, CEOs, professional athletes, and Super Bowl champions. And I found out that there was one common thread that affected every single one of these people. They all had a focused game plan and specific goals for success. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been sitting with you guys since Sunday. And I'm telling you something. I've heard it over and over. I heard it from Sid Feltenstein. He talked about execution. I've heard about the branding from Kathleen. You guys have the tools right now. The difference is, are you going to take action? See, I was in college. One of my professors sat down and he said, there's three types of people in this world. There's the type of people that dream all day and they sit on the lily pad in the lotus position, wishing that things would get better. Then there's those people that talk about all the things they're going to do, And then there's those people that take massive action. And you know what the great news is? The people in this room, I know, are going to take massive, massive action. You're going to take some of the things that you learned today and implement them. See, because if you don't implement things, you're absolutely wasting your time. And if you want to build a big business, and I've built several big businesses I'll tell you about, you've got to educate the consumer. The consumer is not only going to be the patients, the consumer is going to be the physicians, the consumer may be the hospitals. You've got to educate them on what it is that you do, because some people may not know. How could you possibly refer business to an agency if you really don't know what they do? So you've got to start educating. Every time someone comes in office, every time one of the nurses makes an in-call and goes into someone's house, you need to educate the patients, because guess what? They have friends. And people do business with people who they like, who are like them. So I guarantee you, if they may need some companionship, if they need help, they know other people. And it blew my mind when I first was in practice that all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was ask, and I would say, hey, do you know anybody else I can help? Somebody just like you. And they'd say, oh, sure. If I got a number, I owned you. I knew you were coming in my office, and that was it. Well, what I found is that there are 3 pillars of what I call professional success. And if you understand these 3 pillars alone, your businesses will grow beyond your wildest dreams. And those 3 pillars are love, appreciation, and respect. People need that like the food they eat, the air they breathe, and the water they drink. If you give them love, appreciation, and respect, you will get every single thing that you ever want. See, if you give to get, you're even. If you give expecting nothing in return, you're way ahead of the game. You know, I could look out around the crowd, and it was just such a fabulous time last night being with everybody and seeing the awards up there. And Al, I got to tell you, you really, when you broke down there a little bit, man, that's the emotional connection. It shows how much you care about this organization. And the organization is here today because of people like Al Sorensen who care that much. It's about the teams that you put together. See, because you can't do it without them, and they can't do it without you. It's about the partnership between the franchisees and the franchisors. This is a partnership that you have to remain in order to keep things congruent. But everybody wants love, appreciation, respect. Well, how many of you work with difficult people? Raise your hands. Anybody work with difficult people? How many of you are difficult people? Keep your hands up. I know there's a few of you out there. Well, I had a patient one time, and her name was Mary Ann. I was just fresh in practice, 24 years old. I used to always hire women that were older than I was, because people would say, are you old enough to be a doctor? And I said, well, yeah. So I thought if I hired people that were a little older, it might make me look older. It didn't really work. But, you know, that was my thought process. Well, we had a patient. She came in our office. Her name was Mary Ann. Now, some of you work with difficult people. Have you ever met somebody that you couldn't warm up to if you were cremated with them? You know, if they won the lottery, they complain about paying taxes. They're just unhappy people. Well, I think everybody should be happy. And when my patients would come and they'd say, Doc, why are you so up? I said, what's the alternative? Some of you saw me this morning and said, how you doing? I said, I woke up. Hopefully, everybody you know that did. Especially being in our business, you want to make sure everybody's waking up every day. Well, Mary Ann had migraine headaches for 30 years. Imagine every day waking up, vomiting, seeing spots in your eyes, getting dizzy. You might imagine that her physiology changed completely. She was not a happy camper. Well, Mary Ann would pull up to the clinic. The staff would run to the back room, and they would pick straws. See, they wanted to see who was getting stuck with Mary Ann that day. People would make trades. Have you ever wanted to make a trade? Listen, you take Debbie, and I'll do Smith tomorrow. Make a trade. I had trades happening all the time. Well, Mary Ann, after about 2 months, started to get a little better. I started to notice a little twinkle in her eye. That was a result. She walked in the office. And what happened, in my opinion, was a miracle. She walked in one day, and she rang the bell, and she said, how you doing? if I tell you that my front desk assistant almost fell off her chair. This woman came in and growled when she came in. She never said, "How you doing?" Well, my staff member said, "I'm doing great. How are you doing?" And she said, "I have not had a migraine headache for 2 days." Now, this is someone who is having them for 30 years. Could you imagine every day, sick, nauseous, trying to fight through life? It's horrible. It's like stick a needle in your eye. You'll do better. Well, sure enough, Mary Ann started to progress. And over a period of time, in the next couple of weeks, Mary Ann's tension went down, her headaches went away, her migraines were gone. Well, Mary Ann would then start coming in the office, and she would bring in cakes and cookies and candy and theater tickets. And around the holiday time, Christmas time, people could not wait to see what Mary Ann was going to bring in next. Now the staff chose straws to see who got to spend time with Mary Ann. See, because when someone is in pain, when someone is sick, when someone's not being all they can be, it changes their physiology. It changes their outlook on life. It makes them a different person. I willed Mary Ann to my ex-partner, Rich, who took over, and now whenever I go to St. Louis, Missouri, there's Mary Ann. So you got to put the love out. I saw a lot of love in this room last night. I've seen franchisees, franchise owners talking about how important their staffs are to them and how much they love their staff. I mean, anybody saw Tom DeMarco last night? You saw he's wearing a shirt with all of his, so to speak, I call kids on his shirt. How many people walk around with their staff on their shirt? Doesn't happen often. It only happens with special people and special leaders. People that understand that people need love, appreciation, and respect. Well, you have to start to learn how to appreciate people. No different than Liz said yesterday, everybody needs that recognition. You know, that gold star. It's kind of like when you go bowling. Have you ever had a refrigerator score? That's where you did really good on bowling and you put it up on the refrigerator. See, people talk about that. And literally, I have seen my staff members hold up these little notes, put them on their refrigerators, put them on their doorstops. See, because it makes all the difference in the world when you physically take pen to paper and you put your thoughts into it. It changes everything. Kathleen had written a note just the other day. So meaningful. So meaningful. You know why? Because she put pen to paper and so did Jane. Those are the little things. It's the little things that are going to make the big difference. And you got to start focusing on getting good at the little things. See, I have a question. Why should I go to you versus someone else? Why should I go to you versus someone else? What makes you unique and different other than the phenomenal people in this room? See, it's that brand thought that you guys have been selling for the last week. That's what's going to make you unique and different. That's what's going to make you stand above the crowd. Just like Kathleen Wood said yesterday, you don't want to be in a sea of sameness. People want unique and different. I am a contrarian. If you ask me what everybody's doing, I do the opposite. I just figure if you all got it, everybody'd be so successful. I'm a George Costanza kind of guy. I want to do the opposite. It's worked for me for quite some time. I want to look and be above the trend and in advance of the trend, which is exactly where you're taking this company. You're going advance of the trend. There is such a big, booming population. The opportunities for growth are significant. It's up to each and every one of you to take the bull by the horns to meet your goals and objectives. And the good news is, I am going to do a bang-up workshop. I'm going to show you how to reach all your goals and objectives. Something I've been doing for 20 years, something so simple that if you do it, I promise, I guarantee growth. Because it works every time. And the scary part I find out is only 3% of the people on this planet do it. So you've got to start doing this. Well, you've got to start appreciating people. You know, last month I've been quite busy. I don't get to see my family too often. I'm busy flying in and out. And occasionally I'll stay at hotels and they'll say, "What room are you in?" And I'll say 1424 and they'll say there's only 3 floors. Well, I was driving up to Maine, Presque Isle, Maine. Has anybody ever been to Presque Isle, Maine? All right, so now if you know going up to Presque Isle, Maine, it's about 5 minutes from the Canadian border. Well, it was absolutely beautiful going up there. And when I have an opportunity to speak in Maine, I am not thinking about my speech. I've got to be honest. I am thinking about one thing. I'm thinking lobster. Who's thinking lobster out there? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. You go to get lobster. You don't go to Maine just for the scenery. It's all about the lobster. Well, all I'm thinking about is lobster. I think I told everybody I know that I am going to Maine and I'm getting myself some lobster. Well, sure enough, I'm driving up 95. I get off at the exit at Presque Isle, Maine, and there's one of those booths. You know those big tourist booths that says, "Welcome to Maine"? Well, I decided I'm going in there because this is where I'm going to get all that information. Where is the closest lobster shop? Well, I walked in, and there were two women in this tourist information place. They couldn't have been a day under 75 years old, I guarantee you. Well, they were the nicest, sweetest people I'd ever met. They were grabbing me maps. They were grabbing me restaurants. They said, "Can I make you a reservation?" I said, "Absolutely." The woman made me a reservation at a great restaurant. She recommended the Twin Lobsters with the whole pot, the clam bake and everything. I was ready for bear. I was so excited. I said, "Get over here and give me a hug." And I gave her this big hug. And then I let her go. And she stepped back and she looked at me. She said, "You know what? I really needed that. I was married for 52 years. My husband just passed away a month ago. You don't know how important that was to me." You never know when you are going to touch and affect and change someone's life. Some of you never have an opportunity to see that you've done that. And hopefully this weekend, with stories just like Judy Woodruff, and some other stories that I have heard about people that have used your services and how their lives have been changed and affected. Who are you telling the story to? Who are you telling them about? I used to have in my office the case of the month. If I had someone that was not doing very well and they had a drastic turnaround, I told every single person that walked in that day, "You're not going to believe it. We had this patient, she came in, she went to all doctors, nobody could help her. She came in, this is what we did, and she's doing great." Isn't that great? See, what does it say to that patient? It says to them, "Hey, I'm in the right place." People want to know that they're in the right place. People want to know that when it matters the most, you can count on us. You've got an amazing tagline. This is branding at its best. I'll never forget, I had the meeting with Linda Schaub and Kathleen, and when they told me about it, I said to them, "Boy, I wish I came up with that. That is superb." See, I'd be telling everybody that. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for the next year, every single person in there, I'd be telling them. See, because that's a brand message. Some of you need to get that brand message out there. Some of you need to show that appreciation, that love. You know, there's a young lady in this room that I had the pleasure of spending some time with and talking to. And there's a testament to her in the newspaper. It happens, I just saw it the other day. It happens to be from the Hudson Sampler. And it was an article written about your own Lisa Evans' team. And the title of the article was "High Job Satisfaction at Interim Healthcare." And they interviewed 3 employees, one who was a former bank vice president, another student, Jim Kennedy, Terry Buck, and Mary Green. And all they kept talking about was how much they loved doing what they do and how they felt like they were part of a big team, the interim healthcare team. That's the focus of the whole article. It's the first line is, who are these good home health care individuals in our area working through interim health? You can't buy publicity like that. And if you're not the leader, if you're not loving and appreciating the people that work with you, guess what? They're not going to stay with you. You're going to have that revolving door. See, people will generally stay with you if they like you, than whether you pay them another, what was it, the $4 bag or whatever else you guys want to throw in. It's about that job satisfaction. It's about doing something that's more than anything they can do for themselves. And the last piece is respect. You've got to start to respect the people that you work with, and you've got to respect the things that you do. I'll tell you, when I first went into practice, 24 years old, in a year period of time, I grew the largest practice in St. Louis, Missouri. I was out there doing everything. I was on the internet, mall shows, talking to people, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce. If there was something going on, I was involved in it. Because you have to be available and visible if you're going to grow your business. I can also tell you that I went through over 200 front desk people my first 2 years in business. Patients would come in to me and say, "You must be tough to work for." Or the other one I got was, "Who's the new front desk flavor of the month?" I got that all the time. I thought it was them. I thought they were all crazy. You can't find any good people. Then I realized it was me. See, you don't lose 200 people in 2 years by being an effective communicator. 200 people. So I started traveling around the country, and I interviewed doctors, I interviewed staffs. I wanted to find out the people that kept their staffs for 25 and 30 years, and then willed their children to work for the doctors or staffs after they left. Now, the average person I work with is 12, 14 years. Most of the people I'm closest with that I've taken to my businesses are from 6th grade. My wife says I'm sensitive about that. I keep long-term relationships. She doesn't know any guys that do that. But that's what I feel most comfortable with. That's the loyalty factor. That's the respect, called stickability. See, because you've got to respect the people that you work with, and you've got to tell them every day. See, here's the difference. They used to work for me, and then they all left me. Now they work with me, and there's a big difference. I can't spend days with you enjoying your programs, listening to the stories, dancing with you guys at night, if I don't have a dedicated staff, somebody like my friend Aaron back there works with me for the last 4 years doing a bang-up job. I can't do these things. You can't do it alone. You have to have that team with you. And when you have that team and you understand one simple rule. See, how many of you believe in the golden rule? Raise your hands. Do unto others as do unto you. Ridiculous rule. Doesn't work for me. The golden rule, do unto others as do unto you. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have children? Raise your hands. Do you treat them all the same way? No. Some need a little kick in the pants. Some say, "Get out of my face and leave me alone." You get all kinds of different answers. So I've got Goodman's rule. Do unto others as they need to be done unto. Everybody's different. Everybody needs something a little different. Each one of your team members, including yourself, spouse, significant other, are unique and different. You've got to give them what they need, not what you think they need. See, because what you need is completely different in most instances than what they need. So you've got to find out what their needs are. You've got to find out what that script is. You know, it's an interesting thing happened to me a few months ago. I was really excited when I came home because I was going to make a big dinner for my wife. I went out, I got a couple dozen roses. I was all excited about the night, and I had the roses. She usually would come in through the garage, and she'd open up the garage door, and boom, there were the roses right there. So what did I want to get, guys? I wanted to get the, what a great husband I have, right? That's what I was looking for. Here's the problem. She didn't read my script. This was my movie in my head. How many people have not read your script? Well, she walked in the house, and she was on the phone with my sister-in-law. And she's on the phone, and she's talking, and she walks right by the flowers. And she's talking, and she goes in the bedroom. And she's talking, and all of a sudden, she turns around, she sees the flowers, and she goes, "I got to get off the phone." She killed it. She killed it right there. Now, got these flowers, I cooked this dinner, I was all ready, a little romance, done. Why? Because she didn't read my script. See, some of you have got to start communicating your script to the people that you work with. This is not a guessing game with health. There's a communication game, and you cannot leave it in a gray area. It's got to be clear and consistent. You've got to learn how to communicate effectively, and you've got to learn sometimes to get out of the way. I got to tell you, Tom DeMarco, I absolutely love this guy. First of all, can we all give him a round of applause for his new grandchild? First time I spoke with Tom, he was waiting for the baby to come. He said, Rick, I may not be able to take this too long. I could get a call any moment. My wife's going up to New York, and we're really excited. I said, Tom, tell me a little bit about your staff, about your organization. And he said, and I quote, when I learned to get out of the way, my business really took off. I have fabulous people that have been on my management team for over 15 years. And in fact, I'm bringing almost 80 people to the conference. I said, boy, I can't wait to see them. See, but listen to those words of wisdom. When he got out of the way and let people function at a high level, his business took off. Sometimes the owners, including myself, get in the way. And we don't allow our people to do the best job possible. How many control freaks here? Any control freaks like myself? Okay, so there's a few of you out there. You can't go on vacation. See, because if you're a control freak, you come back, there's piles of stuff on your desk. The first thing goes to your mind, why'd I go? I'm not going to go anymore. See, but the cool thing is, if you want your businesses to grow, you're going to have to start delegating. You're going to have to delegate. You're going to have some faith, confidence, and belief that the people that you brought in are going to do a dynamite job. And I'm going to give you another piece of advice. Hiring is like dating. If you're desperate, 18 of the biggest losers are showing up at your front door. See, but when you're okay with yourself, you know what happens? You attract the right person into your life. It happens that way every single time. But it all has to do with love, appreciation, respect. When you start to focus on giving out that love, giving appreciation liberally, catch people doing the right thing, and tell them thank you. And if they say, it's nothing, and I've seen that. There were some ladies I was walking behind last night. I said, you ladies look great. And they said, no. Just same thing. I said, just say thank you. Or just say, I know, I do look pretty good, don't I? That would have been good enough for me. We've got to start to understand that people need that. It's the importance of love, appreciation, respect. You also have to start to look at your attitude. See, because your attitude, as they say, will determine your altitude. And here's the cool thing. You could change your mind, you could change your attitude. It's the way that you look at things. Because your mind does not know the difference between something actually happening and something imagined vividly in great detail. There was a man who wrote a book called Cybernetics. Anybody ever read that book? By Maxwell Maltz. Of course, Ray, you read that book. He's successful. Successful people read. Do you know what the cool thing about a book is? Someone took 25, 30 years, success and failure. They put everything into a book. All you got to do is read the book, do what they do. You got the same results. Like we said yesterday, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's been invented. We just got to improve it a little bit. We just got to make it a little bit better. The basic wheel works just fine. But are we adding the customer service component? Are we adding outreach programs? Are we getting on the web? Are we on Twitter and LinkedIn? I can tell you Interim's on LinkedIn. It's on Twitter. You know how I know? Because I was tweeting in the back of the room while you guys are doing stuff, talking about you guys. So if you go on my tweet log, you will see I'm talking about you. Because every single opportunity that you have on this universe to promote interim healthcare, you've got to take that. If you don't, you're leaving money on the table. Well, Maxwell Maltz had a woman come into his office. She was a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Everyone agreed she was absolutely magnificent. But she had this little crook in her nose, and she thought she was ugly. Well, they went out and they grabbed this book of noses, and they chose a new nose for her. And they performed the surgery, and she came out. She was a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10, if that's possible. She was absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, magnificent. And she sued Maxwell Maltz for malpractice. See, every single time this woman looked in the mirror, she saw this ugly person. Well, they went and they took it to the jury, and they looked at the before and after pictures, and the judge was up there, and they said she's absolutely magnificent, and they threw it out of court. See, but her mind didn't know the difference between something actually happening and something imagined vividly in great detail. Your mind doesn't know. It makes you right every single time. It's like a giant computer. If you don't believe this, think about this. How many of you have ever said it's going to be one of those days? Raise your hands. Anybody ever say that? Okay. And mom and grandma, how many have the mom and grandmas that say bad things happen in threes? Anybody have those mom and grandmas? Me too. And you wake up, and what happens? All of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these bad things start happening to you. And you know what you'd say at the end of the day? See? I was right. I knew it was going to be one of those days, and I was right. Here's my question. What did you ever get for being right? If you've got something for being right, I need to know. See, because I've been right a lot, I haven't gotten anything. So if you got something, I want to get the same stuff. So let me know about that. Now, if you don't believe this concept, if you're in a rush to leave today, how many red lights you hitting? Every single one. Or, how about this one? How many of you bought a new car in the past or just recently? Anybody buy a new car just recently? Guarantee this happened. The moment you got in that new car, started to drive it around, it seemed like every single person in your town was driving the same car, right? There were hundreds of them on the road. See, because your brain was going on search to make you right. Say, hey, that guy or gal's one smart cookie. Great minds think alike. They got the same car as I did. See, because your attitude is shaped by your beliefs. It's internal. See, if you believe that you're going to be able to double and triple your business, you're going to. And if you don't believe you can, you're going to be right too. You've got to focus on the finish line. There was a guy running the Olympics. He was running the 100-yard dash. In the last second, he looked over his shoulder, and a guy passed him right by. He was interviewed 10 minutes after the race. They said, what happened? You were clearly in the lead. He said, I took my eye off the finish line. You guys got to keep your eye on the finish line. Interim has set some big goals, but you know what the cool thing is? The big goals aren't for one agency to reach. Everybody's got to reach those goals individually, and when you do, things are going to take over. The pie is just going to explode and get bigger and bigger. But you've got to keep your eye on that finish line. You've got to be congruent and consistent, because if you're not, things are going to change. It was 1995, I got a phone call from a friend of mine. Now, I had sold my practice, and I was traveling around the country speaking. I was working with other doctors' offices, helping to build their clinics and how to hire people, because obviously I learned what not to do. So I kind of got that figured out after a while. And a friend of mine gave me a call, and he said, you know, you should go back into practice. I said, you know what? I'm not really interested in going to practice. I get to travel around the country. I already did that. See, I'm the AAADD guy. I figure I'm only on this earth for a short period of time. You ain't coming back. Have you even figured that out? Learned it a long time ago. You may come back as a fish or a frog, but you ain't coming back as you. So I'm going to do everything 150%, aren't I? I'm going to work 150%, and I'm going to have 150% of fun. You've got to start to focus on those things. What is you want to do? Well, I went and met him for lunch. He said, listen, if you come to see, he goes, I'm telling you, I'm going to send you a whole bunch of patients. Now, my parents told me the same thing. They didn't send one individual to my office in 12 years. See, but my friend is the guy who coined the phrase, show me the money. You've seen that movie, Jerry Maguire? His name is Harold Lewis. He represents about 150 NFL players. See, I found out a long time ago, it's not a what world, it's a who world. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. It's those connections. It's the references and linkages that you can use to build your business. And if I'm you, I'm going to write a whole list of references and linkages, people that I know that may be able to affect my business. Some of them may be in your own family, and you didn't even think about them. Well, I went to lunch, and there was this monster of a man sitting at the table. And his name was Michael Jones. Michael Jones was the leading rushing back in the history of the University of Missouri football team. He was passed over in the NFL draft. He was then picked up by the Oakland Raiders, who immediately shipped him off to the World Football League. And then the Los Angeles Rams happened to get moved to St. Louis, and Michael Jones, who is from Missouri, got picked up as a free agent linebacker by the St. Louis Rams. So we're at lunch, and Harold says, I'm telling you, you should go back into practice. And Mike's going to go, yeah, I heard you're really good with this acupuncture and all this. Yeah, I'm really good. So I thought to myself, you know what, this would be really cool if my dad did this. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. I said, you know what, I'm in. I'm going back into practice. So I went back into practice, and I got the St. Louis Rams. Then I got the St. Louis Ambush, which was the professional indoor soccer team, and things started rolling. You guys might have forgotten, though. The Rams were the single worst team in the 1990s. They were terrible. They won the first 4 games when they moved to St. Louis and subsequently lost every single game after that. I had patients coming into my office and saying, can't you do something for them? I'm like, I don't play the game. Look at me. I'm barely breaking 5'6 and a half. I like to say 5'7". You got to do something for these guys. Well, the 1999-2000 season looked very promising. Dick Vermeil came in as coach, and anybody who knows Dick Vermeil, he's just an unbelievable guy. You know, and again, I got to relate it to Tom. When I think of Tom, I think of Dick Vermeil, because Dick Vermeil brought people on his staff that he trusted and said, let them do what they did best. And he was just a big cheerleader. He was the orchestra leader for the St. Louis Rams. And he was so emotionally involved, this man cried at a drop of a hat all the time. See, but what that said to everybody was he was real, that he cared. What are people saying about you? Are they saying you're real? Do they feel that connection with you? See, because those people that feel the connection with you are going to be what I call your bird dogs. Those are the people that can go out and tell everybody what a phenomenal job you did. Well, they picked up Trent Green as the quarterback, and they thought, okay, that's the missing piece of the puzzle. We're going to the Super Bowl. We had Marshall Faulk in the backfield, Terry Holt. We had some amazing guns. Everything was running on high octane. They were ready to go. And the third preseason game, Trent Green went down with a season-ending knee injury. The city of St. Louis was in mourning. It was a here we go again moment. I'll never forget the day in my office. As the ritual always had it, right around 6 o'clock, the players would all shuttle in from Rams Park over in Earth City, Missouri. They would come into the office with all their bling and stuff, scare the heck out of half my staff, you know, including the patients. You know, I had a couple of Medicare patients that, you know, they would come in, and it was scary. And they all had their head hung. They sat there, and they had their head hung in something I called the loser's limp. And they said, Doc, you believe what's going on here? Here we go again. Now, if you're coming into my office where there is healing taking place, you better be positive. See, because if you're not positive, I don't want you in my office, because you're going to affect everybody else. Think about it. It only takes one person to take down a whole team. Knowing that, I am not going to let one individual take down a whole clinic and affect my other patients that are coming there for positivity and health and getting the loser's limp from a bunch of football players that are making millions of dollars. Well, Michael walked in the room. He's like, Doc, you know, this is a bad day. I said, let me tell you something. First of all, you ask my children what Goodmans don't do. Do you know the first thing they're going to say is, quit. See, because that is the single worst thing that you could possibly do. You never know when success is just around the corner. Some of you, just like in Kathleen's program, are just a little bit away from gold. You're just missing that vein. You've got to be persistent. And I looked at Michael and I said, if you can't, then you must. If you must, then you will. He's like, Doc, give me a break. I said, Mike, if you can't, then you must. If you must, then you will. I said, you can't be in my office if you don't feel that way. Now, my son thought I was absolutely nuts. I was talking to him like I was his father. I didn't care if he was 6'4" and 275. Didn't make a difference. What's he going to do, beat me up? He wasn't expecting that type of positivity. Well, as the story goes, the Rams started to win. Why? Because they brought a guy named Kurt Warner on. Kurt Warner was just sitting on the shelf. In fact, he was stocking groceries in Iowa. They didn't recognize that this guy had an amazing release, could get the ball out of his hands so quick. And the next thing you knew, we were called the greatest show on turf. It got fun. It got real cool to see us run up the scores on other teams. See, because we always had the score run up on us. Now the shoe was on the other foot. Well, it was a Super Bowl game. It was 23-16. The Tennessee Titans had just scored. They were coming back again. And there was 7 seconds left. They're on the 12-yard line. Steve McNair takes the football, drops back to pass. He throws it to Kevin Dyson. Kevin Dyson makes a perfect catch and grab. He starts to run. And Michael Jones, in his brain saying, I can, I must, I will, made that tackle and stopped him on the 1-foot-yard line, and the Rams won the Super Bowl. Now, that's not the end of the story. See, I like to keep in touch with people, my players, and about a month ago, I had the opportunity to play in a sports agency golf tournament. And my attorney called me up and said, listen, we'd like you to play. We got a spot for you in the tournament. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get one of my players to come on in. How would you like me to call up Mike Jones? Now, I didn't know Mike had just taken the middle linebacker coaching job over at Louisiana Southern in Baton Rouge. And I called him up. I said, Mike, how would you like to play in a golf tournament? Great. Well, you come on up. So I called my attorney. Mike's in. He said, listen, I got to go to the airport and pick up this guy. Now, my attorney is not a sports fanatic by any means. He says, I got to pick up this guy. What's the guy's name? He goes, I don't know, he's some VIP guy. What's his name? Tommy John. You ever hear of him? I'm like, you're going to pick up Tommy John? Are you kidding me? I said, I'm definitely in, and I want them to be in my foursome. He's like, great, no problem. So now I know I'm getting to play golf with Tommy John, World Series MVP for the Yankees, 4 times won the World Series, and Michael Jones. Now, for me, this is big-time stuff. I get to just bond and hang with this guy. Well, Tommy John is telling stories left and right. This guy has some unbelievable, incredible stories. He's talking about George Steinbrenner. He's talking about everything. And then he asked Mike Jones a question. He said, Mike, there was no time left. And the play is called the tackle. It is one of the top 25 events in all sports history, according to Sports Illustrated. It's that impactful. And he said, I got to ask you a question. What was going through your mind? There was 7 seconds left in the game. The game was on the line. What were you thinking? He said, see this short guy over here? He goes, he kept saying, I can, I must, I will. Drove me nuts in his New York accent. He goes, I got to tell you the truth. I was thinking about that all the time. It's like a bad record. You ever hear that, the Barney album or something like that? I love you, you love me. And you go to work and you're singing it all the time. You ever been to let's get it out of my head. It's I love you, stop it. He's like, your annoying voice was in my head. I'm so grateful for him writing a testimonial in my book for that fact. So you could do anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. You've got to have that commitment. So you've got to make a commitment now to yourself. You've got to make a commitment when you leave today that you're going to put some of the information into action that you're going to learn. See, because if you're just going to spend the whole day with me and not implement these ideas, you're wasting your time. But if you take action and implement one idea, you're going to increase your effectiveness 25%. 2 ideas, 50%. 3 ideas, over 100%. You're going to increase your effectiveness. See, because it's all about taking action. It's all about making that commitment. There was a little boy, and he was deciding to skate, and his grandfather went and bought him these brand new skates. And he was out on the lake, and he was skating, and he kept falling down. And finally, his grandfather called him over and said, son, why don't you take a break here? You're falling down. I don't want you to hurt yourself. And the little boy looked at him, and he said, I didn't get these skates to give up with. I got these skates to learn how to. You've got to be persistent. How many of you know about Colonel Sanders? I know he's not alive anymore. But Colonel Sanders was a man on a mission. Colonel Sanders used to drive around his Country Squire LTD2 with the back seats and the wood panels on the side. You all remember those? Okay? He would drive around, he'd pull up to a restaurant and say, hi, my name's Colonel Sanders. I got the best fried chicken recipe in the world. You go buy the chicken, I'll make the chicken. Every piece of chicken you sell on a percentage. Now, what would you say if this guy showed up in his white suit with his bow tie and goatee wanting to cut of your business? I know. You'd call the hospitals and say they let him out, call the police. Well, he did it 100, 200, 300 times. When would you have stopped? Couple, 20, 50, maybe got a little discouraged after 100? 1,007 times he goes into a place, my name's Colonel Sanders, I got the best fried chicken recipe in the world. You go buy the chicken, I'll make the chicken. Every piece of chicken you sell on a percentage. Get out of here. 1,009 times he walks in, my name's Colonel Sanders, I have the best fried chicken recipe in the world. You go buy the chicken, I'll make the chicken. Every piece you sell on a percentage. The guy says, all right, let me check this out. It sounds like a good business. He tries the chicken. He buys the chicken. Him and Colonel Sanders go into business together and ended up selling for millions of dollars years later. You know who that man was? Dave Thomas. See, Dave Thomas recognized a product. He recognized a franchise that was worthy and good, and he got involved, and that's where Dave Thomas made all of his money in order to start the Wendy's franchises. He made his money through Kentucky Fried Chicken. See, because Colonel Sanders, with an idea, with an attitude of gratitude, and with a can-do attitude, he wasn't giving up, he wasn't going to quit, and he ended up winning big time. My question to you is, are you going to give up? Who cares about the competition? See, I don't recognize competition. I am so laser beam focused on what I am doing, I don't know, and I don't really care what everybody else is doing. See, it's when you're laser beam focused and you have an amazing product like you do, you don't have to worry about the competition. What you have to worry about is building your own businesses. Laser beam focus. When you keep your eye on the ball, when you keep your eye on the finish line, you will hit all of your goals. When you take your eye off that finish line, you will not hit your goals. But right now, I'm telling you something. I have seen groups of people around the country that I've been around my whole life, speaking, learning businesses, and I can tell that I recognize one thing in this room. I recognize winners. I'm telling you, I wouldn't have gone home and said to my wife, hey, I could buy one of those franchises, if I didn't feel that there were a ton of winners in this room, and more important, if I didn't feel the leadership of Interim Healthcare were winners. See, because life is too short. I don't like to associate with losers because that attracts more losers. So for those of you that are having a challenge with turnover, I just want you to remember, don't be desperate. The right people, places, and things will come into your life when you're ready. When you're ready to expand and grow, they will be there. And then you've got to share the message. You've got to share the message about some of these people that you're treating. You've got to share the message about how good you are. Because again, if you're not talking about what you do and how good you are, you could be the biggest secret in the world. You've got a phenomenal commercial which is going to help you brand. The real place that's going to be branding is in your agencies. When your people go into someone's home, that is when the branding is going to really take place. When you go to the community events, when you get involved, when you start to volunteer. And I would tell you one thing, do not volunteer if you do not believe in the cause. People will know that. You've got to be congruent. The next area that is essential if you're going to grow your businesses is what I call FFG. Faith, forgiveness, and gratitude. You have got to have the faith that you have the internal ability inside yourself to accomplish your goals and objectives. I had another fabulous conversation with Jan Waby over here. And I got to tell you, Jan said to me, and I think you guys saw last night, we tripled our business in the last 3 years. I said, what's your biggest challenge? What's your biggest concern? And she said to me, growing my business from the inside and delivering better customer service. I'm going to tell you guys something about Jan that she may not even know. Jan is a superstar. Jan will triple her business again in the next 3 years, I guarantee you. Because they care. They care. You've got to care. You've got to understand. People want everything. They want love, appreciation, respect. You have the faith you're going to do it. You've got to start forgiving yourselves. You've got to start forgiving yourselves because sometimes you make mistakes. People make mistakes. People are not mistakes. Unless you've got to have gratitude. See, because the gratitude is going to take you through everything. When you're grateful, you become attractive. You guys should be grateful. You're in an unbelievable business and in a fantastic position for growth right now in this country. What Kathleen said, 10 to 15% average growth in baby boomers per year. You don't need a big percentage of that number to really get your businesses in high gear. Well, it was a few years ago, after the Rams won the Super Bowl, actually right before that, it was 1998. 1998, December 24th. I came down here, met with a friend of mine, Dr. Glenn Berger. I said to Glenn, I've been divorced for about a year now. I said, you need to fix me up with someone. He says, I know this great girl, Jackie Klein. So I tried calling her. I'm calling her, and I'm calling her. Not too desperate, right? Probably called her 5 or 6 times. No luck. So December 24th, what am I doing? My mom says, you should go to this singles party. I said, Ma, that's not me. I'm not going to a singles party. You know, I meet people all over the place. It's easy for me to meet people. Just go. All right. When your mother says, just go, you just go, right? Well, I walked in. There was nothing really happening. And I just said, basically, you know what? I'm leaving. Well, there was this woman walking out. She wasn't smiling. I said, you need to put a smile on your face. It's a great pickup line, I thought. She put a smile on her face and said, come on, let's go dance. We started dancing. I said, what's your name? She says, Jackie. Jackie what? Jackie Klein. I reached in my pocket. I said, is this you? She said, yeah. I said, my friend Glenn Berger. Well, next thing you know, I said, I got to go out with you. I called her 2:30 in the morning. Not too desperate, right? 2:30 in the morning. Well, we went out the next day, and she said, my neck's bothering me a little, my back's bothering me. Can you come and adjust me? I said, sure. I walked into her room. She had the same sheets on her bed as I did. My sheets were outdated 10 years before. You couldn't find these things. And I started adjusting. Her phone rang, and it was a girlfriend. And she said, oh, I'm cheating on you. A friend of mine is adjusting me. I said, who's that? She said, my friend Sharon. I said, Sharon who? She said, Sharon's out of it. I said, give me that phone. I said, what's going on? Sharon was in my organizational meeting when I started a consulting base of 400 offices in St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't know that she'd known Jackie since 2nd grade. A little serendipity. Well, as things happened, I had to get back to work, had to get back to St. Louis. I was not ready to come and pick up and move down here. And I was walking down the streets of New York right after the Super Bowl. My phone rings. It's Jackie. Hey, there are these guys down here. They're building this clinic. I think that you can help them. They want to meet with you. So I came down and met with these guys. They had 2 clinics called Neurology Associates Group. They said, we've heard you build big clinics around the country. Are you interested in joining us? I said, yeah, I might be interested. They said, you need to meet the last partner. Last partner walks in. His name's Perry Saul. Perry Saul also was in my organizational meeting when I started this consulting base in St. Louis, Missouri. He walks in, he goes, I can't believe it's you. He goes, he's in. Well, in the next 3 years, I built 11 facilities in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, got involved in a whole set of other businesses. I called myself the Director of Multi-Operations. Now, what the heck is that? I was just doing everything, so that's what they said, make your own name up. And that's what I put, Director of Multi-Operations. I said, I do a lot of things. Well, it was April 21st, 3 years ago. Jackie was our head marketer. She walked into my office and she said, I need to talk to you about something. I felt a lump in my breast. She said it was a palpable lump, and in fact, I could see it. I need to get to some doctors. Well, we looked around, we looked at whose connections we had, who we could talk to, and Jackie called Memorial Hospital, and she found a doctor named Rob Dunaway. Well, Rob looked at it, and he said, we're going to do a seminal node biopsy, and they did the biopsy, and her lymph nodes were clear. So that was the good news. See, but she had to make a decision. And her decision was, do I get a single mastectomy, or do I get a double mastectomy? Well, I couldn't advise her on that. It's her body. She asked for and I said, I think you got to do whatever you've got to do. Well, she decided she was going to get a double mastectomy. When the results came back, the cancer was in the healthy breast. She had made the right decision. See, sometimes you got to listen to Jiminy Cricket. That's the little voice inside you. That's the person that when you went and took that multiple choice test in school and you changed your answers from the right one to what? The wrong answer. You gotta listen to Jiminy Cricket. Well, Jackie was home. She had home health care come in from Memorial. They had to change her bandages. They had to do stuff. And she walked into my office 4 months later. And she said, I'm giving you my resignation. I said, what do you mean you give me a resignation? You've been the marketing director here for years. What are you doing? She said, I decided to take a position as the director of physician education at Memorial Hospital's home health care. The people that came into my house, the people that made a difference, I want to do something different. I want to touch more people's lives, and I want to make a difference. Well, in the next 2 years, Jackie went through a series of procedures. Currently, she's been on chemotherapy, going to work every single day. See, because what she is doing is exactly what every single one of you are doing right now. She's out there as part of a team, educating doctors, educating the people at the hospital, educating patients, educating nurses, all about the importance of what it is that you do. And every day, she gets out of bed, even though she's on chemotherapy, to go take care of business, because what she feels she's doing is way more important than anything else. I want to thank the person that inspires me to touch people's lives, and I want to thank the person who's giving me just an amazing bunch of years of my life, my wife, Jackie Klein Goodman. For those people that you would touch, and for those people who will touch you, I'd like to paraphrase Robert F. Kennedy. Some people see things and say, why? Great leaders and the people in this room see things and say, why not? I'm going to ask you to say, why not? Because there's one thing that I know in my heart of hearts, after spending the last 3 days with you, is that when it matters the most, I can count on all of you. Thank you very much.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
Thank you.
Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go.